Thursday afternoon chat. Your favorite artists with Jayar.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, will you please put your little paws together for today's guest, Terrian. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. This has been a long the audience doesn't know this, but I think the first time I saw you on stage with TobyMac, Diversity Crew, there wasn't like some major press release I saw where it's like, hey, Toby's got a new female vocalist on stage, Diversity Crew. There wasn't a major... And so I had to see it live, and I'm like, I told Toby, I was like, this girl's infectious. Like, I can't stop watching her singing and dancing. It's like she was born to do this.
Thanks, man.
But I hadn't had a on yet, so it was on a cruise ship that I saw you on there, and I'm like, hey, when we get back to land, let's do something.
Yeah.
Then I learned you live in Memphis, and that's not as easy to.
Yeah,
so.
man. Yeah.
So here we are.
Yeah.
We finally made it. We're going to play a new song coming up in just a bit, In the Arms as well, but we're doing something with all the interviews where we give you, this is like for social media, like if when we post a clip of this chat, the whole interview's green screened. I want you to be able to pick, though, the background.
Right.
So here's a few options for you. You can choose to do the interview on the moon, Antarctica, or a beach. What would you like to go with?
Antarctica.
Yes. Okay.
Why not?
Let's do this. Let me push this button here. There we go. So I'm colder now. Just like everything's shifted here in the room.
Yeah.
Let's lead off going into, let's see, back earlier this year you had an EP or album come out. EP. So the song we've been playing for a while, In the Arms, is on it. But let's lead off just playing a brand new song for the 15 listeners of this show.
Cool.
And I almost had it memorized. Stayed on Him.
Yes.
That was a shot in the dark. Can you just walk me up the song DNA, where it came from and everything?
Yeah, so we it started off actually as another song, and we weren't going to like put it on the record because it just wasn't right yet. And then we came up with Stayed on Him, and we just wanted to write a song that encouraged believers to like keep their minds on Jesus. 2020 was super hard for so many people, It was a great year, right? It was an awesome year.
One of my favorites.
But like we're here and on earth, and there's so many like trials and tribulations happening around us, but scripture tells us that God keeps in perfect peace those whose mind is stayed on Him. And so I wanted to use that to encourage people to just like, we can have peace amongst this turmoil that we're walking through right now. So that was the hope for it.
Since this is our first chat together, let's just, I want to talk about that time where you first got approached by Toby, and to set you up with this. Growing up in Seattle, in the church, DC Talk was this thing that's like the greatest ever. They were the pioneers. Toby, I still call him to this day the Godfather, right? Because everything he touched, he was a pioneer.
Yeah.
I still remember the day I realized Jesus Freak was not rap. It was like, guys, I'm holding the CD going, this isn't rap.
Yeah.
And we ate it up. So everything he touched. So he's a legend to me.
Yeah.
And it's hard for my high school friends to know that, Toby and I texted, we're friends, we're buds. I knew True before he passed and all this stuff. So for you, did you have the same experience with Toby, or you're probably too young to do too much DC Talk, right?
So I didn't know CCM existed.
Oh, okay.
That is the thing.
Well, let me tell you about Toby.
Yeah.
Let me start with Kevin Max.
I had no idea it was a thing. I grew up listening to gospel music. Okay. So I didn't know TobyMac was like the Kirk Franklin of CCM. Had no idea. And like right before we started connecting with his team, I'd gotten a bit more familiar with K-Love and CCM, and all I knew of Toby was Speak Life. So I didn't, I hadn't listened to, like real new to this,
Yeah.
So I didn't know anything about Momentum or DC Talk or anything like that. So once I started, singing with him, that's when I started getting a bit more familiar with all the old stuff. Okay. But for me, it was just like, this is a cool opportunity. I think this sounds awesome,
Yeah. So if it was me, I would have screamed like a little girl, or fainted. Right. I think fainted.
Yep.
This is really TobyMac. You aren't TobyMac.
Yeah.
But that's funny that to not have that same. Yeah, I bet you he loves that though, because he's beloved his whole life.
Yeah, right.
And to have somebody who's like, who are you again? Your last name is just MAC? That's not a real last name?
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool. So was it a, hey, I love what you do kind of a deal? Will you come try out, with Diversity, or was it straight?
No, so my manager and I were talking to Dan Pitts, which is Toby's manager, just to sign to Goatee. And I just started to so happened to talk to them around the time Nerva was leaving.
Right.
And Dan Pitts really liked me and wanted me to come and kind of fill in for Nerva when she couldn't do a couple weeks or something like that on tour. And that was Toby's real first introduction into what I do. And it was kind of interesting. I don't think the guys were all that excited,
But they've been together so long.
Yeah.
It's a family.
Yeah.
Who stays together as a not backup band for the guy
long.
For that long, that many people.
Such a long time.
Only Sean Locke leaves. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, I was just walking into that element. I don't think they even knew that Nerva was leaving at the time. Okay. But it ended up going very well. And, eventually I got the offer to join Diversity. So,
and here we are.
Yeah.
I know Sean Locke struggled with this a while ago of doing his own thing. One of the only people to leave Diversity crew. And you're kind of in that similar. How does it work being a part of a family, a team on the road with Toby, but you also got your own songs like We Play?
Right.
How does that dynamic work that our audience might be intrigued with?
Yeah. I think, transparency first and foremost, everybody expects that at some point I won't be able to do Diversity anymore. I kind of dread that day because I love this guy.
Yeah.
It's so fun being with them. But knowing that they just genuinely want the best for me, when people have that posture, it just makes that environment super easy to be a part of. And so it's just this very unique dynamic where Toby's my boss for Diversity, but he's also the guy at the label,
Right.
So just seeing his mentorship through it all, and those conversations that I get to have with him being a part of Diversity as he's trying to prep me for, my thing at some point. It's just, I don't know. It's I think the best environment to be in, for that. Yeah.
You landed with a good one because I've just seen him just mentoring.
Yep.
How he did with Jamie Grace for a while and leaving them space to do what they were born to do. But also he's a businessman too. That's you've got what I want over here too.
Yeah.
But his heart is always for the good,
Yep.
and he's just, I still remember we were in Dallas at a hotel 2 a.m, and I was going through some major life problems. And I just remember, weeping in front of him, in front of an elevator. And this is the guy on stage, adored all over the country, but he, his care and attention for people.
Yeah.
Just sat there, for an hour, just sharing wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not afraid to give it.
Right.
So just an amazing people. A lot of people that TobyMac. What kind of guy is he? Is he a rock star? Is he all this stuff? And I asked him. You might be intrigued to know what he said to me when because he lost his sister, lost his father. True passed away. His son, with what he's going through physically, he's gone through so much trauma in 5 years. And I asked him a question. I got my own trauma in my life that I don't make public on the radio, but I said, how can you walk up to that microphone every night, and every time I see you in front of that microphone, everybody knows TobyMac's goal is to make sure you know about the gospel,
right?
But if you knew what he was going through, and he said I have never held on to the cloak of God more in my life than right now, because I have to,
right?
And so you see, and that's why I told Toby, that's the kind of man he is. Even though he goes through trauma, this man's goal on this planet is to spread the gospel.
Yeah, he makes that very clear to us. I think that's why, they've been together so long. It's because it's a testament to his leadership and his heart for the Lord and all of it. Just him being sure that we don't forget why we're there. If there's a reason to complain about something, he's like, nah, no, it's not a good enough reason to complain,
Right.
And it's funny because he says on stage every night, today I get to do this, today I get to do that, versus, leaning back, in your chair being jaded about something. And so that's just a mentality that he encourages all of us to have, and it really does set the tone for this team.
And he'll probably be 75 saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Are you 80?
Right.
Let's go, as we let our audience get to know you for the first time, just more on a personal level. I've been asking a lot of artists this fall about just kind of a silly question about, I was raised by a dad that worked in a grocery store for 40 years, changing the price tags. And so what came with that was when the store would shut, as a little boy, I got to run the aisles when nobody in the store, just sprinting through the aisles. Like, that's not glamorous, but it was a perk of your dad working at a grocery store. What about for you? What was a perk of one of your parents' jobs?
Oh my goodness.
That maybe nobody else got to do?
Oh man, that is a really good question.
So you can take your time with it.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Let's see. I mean, I grew up a pastor's kid, so being able to go in the church before everybody else and play on all the instruments. I mean, come on. As a kid who just wants to just run around and do crazy stuff, that's what I got for you,
Oh yeah, it's like a second home for you.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
My parents were also puppet ministers at the church.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a whole
puppet ministers. Wow.
You want to know how somebody gets into radio, or your parents are puppet ministers?
Puppet ministers.
There's not many of us out there.
Yeah,
there
I
are
don't think
support
so.
groups.
Yeah.
But
support groups.
I can tell you this, they're like, why don't you go into the family business? There's churches all over America that need good puppet teams. I'm like, I'm gonna end the line. It's gonna stop with you guys.
That's a good decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Article I read the other day, Terrian, about revealed that most Americans, on average, think that they could last 2 weeks in the wilderness. Is how far? I know you're from Memphis. There's not a lot of wilderness there, but let's say you ended up, there's a tour. You're playing in, Missoula, Montana at night, but you just decide you're going to go explore the Montana wilderness, and you get lost.
Wow.
How long do you make it from your best guess?
For the sake of the question, I'll give you an answer.
Okay.
You will never find Terrian just going off into the wilderness. It's just not going to happen, but I got you,
Hey, Nerva?
Man.
What are you doing
How
now?
long will I last?
Based on some skill sets, maybe could you fight? Could you find food if you have to?
I could scrap a little bit. I grew up in the hood. I ain't have a choice.
Yeah, I don't. Grizzlies are another thing, though.
I don't know, man. I would, just be asking the Lord for an actual angel to pick me up if that's a thing, and just fly me away from there, because I would not survive.
What about finding food? How could you do with that,
dude? I don't like worms. I don't like birds and all that stuff. I'll be starving.
My money's on 3 days for Terrian.
Yeah, I give myself 2 days. Yeah,
that's great. So it's the life months and months on the road. I know you guys don't do Monday through Sunday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday back home. But just from a spiritual angle, having a slab on a bus, maybe a back room for privacy or something like that. How do you, on the road, a different city every night, keep a habit up of getting time alone with God on the road?
I always go to a coffee shop every day, nobody sits next to me at a coffee shop. So I just go and I'll have my Bible and I'll just stay there and read for a couple hours. That's kind of what keeps me sane.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you have to be intentional about going and finding that spot.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a habit, Yeah. I almost go every day when I'm on the road.
Great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You don't have kids, right?
No kids.
All right. So that's good you're doing that now, because when you have kids, there are no private spots to go spend time with the Lord.
That's what I've seen.
Just this morning I was reading from a Louis Giglio book, and my son's in the same room with me, and he's like, Dad. And I had closed my eyes to just kind of contemplate what I was reading and reading the scriptures, and I was whispering a couple prayers. Dad, hey, Fortnite's not working. And I was ignoring.
Yeah.
Surely he sees that my eyes are closed.
Yep.
And he wasn't getting it. So I'm like, forgive me, Lord. And I just held out one finger, and then he got it. He's like, oh gosh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it's especially for moms, it's to be able to get a couple moments of quiet to talk to the Lord. You got to be intentional about. I mean, I found a stairwell one time, because they're like, surely somebody doesn't hang in a stairwell.
Yeah.
But it's a private place
Yeah.
to get quiet. Good, you found a coffee shop, and you got Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
Jesus and
Absolutely.
Wi-Fi all
Come
in
on.
one spot.
Right? And good coffee.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
All right, it's been a long time in the making, but glad we finally were able to do it. And some of these clips, Terrian, if they end up in front of you on Instagram or Facebook, you're gonna see you and I talking with the Arctic behind us.
Yes.
Did we decide? Did we do North Pole, South Pole? Is there a difference? It's just all snow, right? So do both poles look the same? Do we know that? Okay, yeah, it's just snow everywhere. Mm-hmm. So that's where we've spent this interview. EP came out in the February-ish.
February, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
With
that's when it came out.
With Light It Up on there, and maybe next year let's connect and get an update, maybe on some new music or something.
Yeah.
Great to finally meet you.
Good to meet you too, man.
The Thursday Afternoon Chat. Your favorite artists with Jayar.